Hello, everyone, and welcome to But Why Those latest Let's Talk. Tonight, it's all about From Software and what their games have meant to us over the years, as well as some Elden Ring talk. I'll be your moderator for tonight. I'm Carlos, contributor at But Why Though, a geek community. And Kate is on the ones and twos. And let me introduce this amazing panel, starting with Denny, who is content creator and community manager for Shack News.
Hi, good to be here. Excited to talk about some Soulsborne and other goodies.
Oh, yeah. We have Joseph, host of the Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast.
Hello, how's everybody doing tonight? I'm excited to be here. Excited to talk some Bloodborne. Excited to talk some Soulsborne. I'm just excited to be here.
We have Little Sharif, fellow From Software fanatic and holder of several platinums, as we came to learn from Software.
I'm glad to be here, guys. Thanks for having me.
We have Lee Shorten. You may have seen him on AMC's The Terror, right? Season 2.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite games, Ghost of Tsushima. Jen Sakai's father, I believe.
Yes, that would be me. I had the honor, so
yeah,
stoked to be here. Stoked to be here, and thanks for having us out.
And of course, we have Lanny, who is an animator and illustrator, and probably the most talented person on this panel.
Oh my goodness, please don't say that. Really happy to be here. I'm so excited to just gush about From Software for 2 hours with all of you.
All right. So with that said, what's great is that Elden Ring is right around the corner. So what better way to celebrate the release of that game, the impending release of that game, with just celebrating From Software. So let's start with the first question. What was like the first game from that you were introduced to, a From Software game, and how did you get into it, and what made you stick around? Let's start first with Denny.
First one I was introduced to was the original Dark Souls on 360. My friends had told me about it, and they said it might be the kind of game I'd be into, and then it was extremely hard. And then I played for like a week and got stuck. I think at like the gargoyles or something like that, and then took like a month off. And then I was like, you know what? I think it was like summer break or something like that. And I was like, I'm gonna hop back on here. And this time I knew I had like 40 hours just like poured into the game. And I was looking up stuff online and forums, and I became like a fan.
I think that was the second time, because in Demon Souls you had to fight two of those sort of like those gigantic
man-eaters. I hate that fight.
Yeah, the man-eaters, and then in Dark Souls they followed that up with the two gargoyles. So it's like that was the beginning of like the multiple boss fights at the same time for players. That was crazy. What about you, Joseph?
The first game that I was introduced to was Demon Souls. I remember being at a New Year's Eve party, and my brother's friend's brother, he was downstairs in the basement with one of his friends playing this game, and he was fighting the two bosses in Demon Souls. They're two iconic ones. It's Big Boy and then Little Boy.
Tower Knight?
And what's that?
Tower Knight?
Yes, I believe so. No, that's Demon Souls. Anyway, nonetheless, I was looking at it. I was like, "What is it? What's going on?" These people should be upstairs celebrating this gosh darn New Year, and I didn't think anything of it. And I had these two friends who would keep on talking about Dark Souls and Dark Souls 2, and they were going through it, and it sounded so fascinating. But even then, I didn't pay it any mind until PSX or the PlayStation Showcase of 2014 or 13 with the reveal of the PlayStation 4 with Bloodborne. And there was just something about that cinematic that I was like, if there's anything that's going to take me in, it's this gothic Victorian vibe. And I remember playing it, getting the Steelbook, humble brag, and, playing it for the first 3 hours. And I was like, this game sucks. This game's bad.
Really?
This game's awful. I can't beat anything. The first three mobs are kicking my butt. I don't like any of this. But there was a moment when I came back out of frustration of just succumbing to whatever this game wanted from me. And it was when I beat the cleric beast on the first try, that's where it just all clicked.
Yep.
And the
Congratulations.
next thing I know, Bloodborne's a yearly occurrence. I play it every single year where there is downtime. You know, people joke because I always know that we are 2,251 days since the original Bloodborne. I got it in the memory bank. I love this game so very much. And I owe it a lot because it's because of that game that I'm now willing to try any game in front of me. I used to be so particular, but it was with that game and with that moment that changed my entire perspective of gaming.
And that was such a great reveal trailer too.
Oh my
because
God.
prior to that, we had that leaked Project Beast sort of, unfinished trailer, and then they gave us just that, and it was like he just told Miyazaki's name, and then he saw From Software, and then it was just magical. Magic. Sharif, what you got?
I was a little late to the game, but I got Dark Souls 3 when it first came out. I had no idea what I was getting into. I was doing like my daily Best Buy haul with video games. I was throwing random things in there. Assassin's Creed Origins came out at around the same time, I believe. And I just picked up Dark Souls not knowing what it was about. It was the biggest challenge I had, but I was able to platinum it within the first month and a half of playing it. It was the first Souls-like game. I got super into it. It quickly became an addiction. I picked up Bloodborne, finished that off 2-1. Then it just became a thing, and I started looking for games like Cuphead, Hollow Knight, just anything I could get my hands on that was in that genre. So Dark Souls 3 was my first. I know I'm late, but don't worry, I caught up, guys.
And that's a great way to start, because it sort of is like, it takes all the learnings and all the features from all the games, and it's almost like,
right, it was hard going back to standing still while healing in Dark Souls 1 when I was jogging in Dark Souls 3 doing it. So
I think going back down from 3 is probably the hardest thing, because
absolutely, but
the gameplay is significantly worse as you go down the line.
Especially 2, which I won't get into. That's the one I can't beat because I don't.
We can get into that later.
Yeah.
But Lee, what's going on with you?
Yeah, original Dark Souls was the first one I picked up. But then I kind of had a weird thing because I skipped 2. I never played 2 ever. 3, Bloodborne. This is blasphemous, but and it's weird because I love Lovecraftian shit, but I could never get into Bloodborne. I just suck at it really badly. But then Sekiro was the one that really, really clicked for me, and I it's probably my favorite. And then Dark Souls 3. So.
Wow. You went straight for the hardest one, I think Sekiro.
But but it's so weird because everyone says that, but like I don't know why, but that one clicks. I find it easier than some of the others. I don't know why. I suck at Bloodborne so bad. The gameplay just doesn't. I just can't gel with it. I don't know.
There's something kinetic and beautiful about Sekiro. Like there's something that because you're parrying, it's focusing on parrying. It just feels like, a dance when you're in a good combo.
Yeah, I'd like to say it's a dance. Yeah.
And I think one of the most amazing things about Sekiro is the Mikiri counter. It's terrifying that the game wants you to counter that way. It's like, how? And then all of a sudden you become part of that dance. Like it becomes second nature, even though it's something that seems counterintuitive and terrifying. How about you, Lanny? What's going on with you?
So my kind of history in this is that Dark Souls 2 came out when I was in college, and a friend had just got it in, and he was kind of starting to play through. He's like, come over. So he let me like create a character and all this, and I started fighting. I was like, okay, this is a video game, and I died a lot for hours, and I just didn't understand, like, why am I dying? Like, I'd never played a game. I didn't know what a friend game was, and I didn't know that like fantasy games were anything but like a hack and slash or like a button masher. And so it's like, I don't know what. I was dead in the Forest of Fallen Giants. I didn't even get up this second tower, ladder to Cardinal Tower. It was just like, what is this? And then I left his dorm, and I didn't touch it, but I knew about it, like in the culture, you always kind of know, oh, Dark Souls, Dark Souls. And last year, Andy Cortez played through the first Dark Souls Remastered. And I watched every single stream and I didn't miss a single night. And watching him play through it, I was finally starting to understand, and I was like really starting to fall in love with it and see everything that it has to offer. And so he finished the playthrough. I was like, okay, now I know what I've been missing out on. I need to try it for myself. So I bought Bloodborne, and I thought, like, never getting past Cleric Beast. I'm not gonna get it. And I beat Cleric Beast in my first attempt, and then I went on to beat the game in its entirety in 2 weeks. So it was like the biggest confidence booster ever. And to make sure that it wasn't a fluke, I went back into God of War. Like the last thing I had left was the Valkyrie Queen, and I was like, I tried for weeks to beat her, and I couldn't do it. I hadn't played this game in like year and a half, and I went back in right into the fight, like forget relearning the moves, and I beat her in an hour. I was like, okay, now I can do anything. So I've been playing Dark Souls 2. I'm right at the end. I really wanted to try and finish it before Elden Ring. I don't know if I can. I have the DLC left. But that too, like I was miserable. I hated the first like 10 hours of Dark Souls 2. I kept going like, this has to get better. This has to get better. It really grew on me in the last like 50 hours. I was really surprised. But Bloodborne is my huge love. I'm so in love with that game, and it was such a joy. And like every spare chance that I get, like Joseph was saying, that I'm not doing this or I'm not doing that, I'll like jump back into Bloodborne in my new game plus, and I'll like, try and beat Ludwig a little bit more. And yeah, that's where I'm at.
I think Dark Souls 2 has probably one of the best central hubs. I think Majula is fantastic. The music,
awesome.
Yeah,
that's the one thing that really got me for Dark Souls 2, like just keep going until you find this interesting, is every time I went to Majula, it just gives me Dragon Dogma, Dark Arisen, when you're in the beach town at the very, very beginning, and like the music and the sounds and everything reminds me of that. And that's also a really fun game. So it's just like, okay, I can just keep going. This is at least very therapeutic.
I think you touched on something that's really interesting, and it's that confidence building. And that's what these games do so well. And that leads perfectly into the next question. Like, what was probably the hardest boss you guys faced in the Soulsborne games? And did you ever manage to beat it? I'm going to go with Sharif on this one.
Oh, God. What made me rage quit for like a couple days? Owl Father and Harada Estate made me lose my sanity for a while, and Sword Saint Ishin made me quit the game for I think 14 days.
Me too.
I had to fast walk around in mountains without my shoes on. I had to like do a lot of deep therapy. The copay my therapist got was a lot. It's $20 every session. I was solid 45 minutes of just talking about how I can't keep up with 3 phase bosses anymore. I'm getting old.
Wow.
So those two bosses for sure. And it sucks that they're both from Sekiro, which goes against you saying that Sekiro is an easy game. No, it's not.
Yeah, Lee, what are you talking about? What's
I'm not saying
what was the hardest for you?
It's not easy. It's definitely not easy, but I think the parrying and the poison and everything just clicks for me more so than some of the other games. But I would also say the hardest boss for me is from Sekiro, and it was like the first time you fight the headless ape, because
he's so much fun.
And I think I love about these games is, like different people's skill sets means that different bosses are like harder, right? Like, I remember people talking about how Pontiff Sullivan was really hard in 3, but like I beat him like the second time. But the ape, when like I just found the like kind of timing on the combos impossible to like just get a grip on. So I couldn't kind of play the way I usually play when I fought that boss. So I think it took me like at least a week or 2 weeks just to beat that stupid ape. It was really frustrating.
But you didn't have to unlearn either, because since you had Sekiro, you weren't going in with the preconceived notions of the other games. I think that also helps with just following the flow of what the game is giving you.
That's true.
Yeah, probably.
So what was your reaction, Lee, when he came back to life, the ape?
I mean, like I weirdly sort of expected it because the first half of that fight's not too bad. So I was just like, something has to happen, right? Because it seemed a bit too chill, and we'd seen so many 2-stage bosses in like other FromSoft games. But then when I like was getting into the fight, I'm like, this is ridiculous. But then again, it's so weird because the second time you fight it again, I think I beat it first.
Yeah, you
go.
fight two of them. You fight two of them.
But then I beat that first go, and it's just like I don't. Sometimes I think it's luck, So
yeah, it's weird. It's weird. How about you, Danny?
I mean, I think there's definitely like some chaos to the boss fights in general, where there's some luck sometimes, and it's just part of the fun of the games. But for me, man, so I made the mistake of starting New Game Plus in Bloodborne by accident, and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to level. I'm going to just go in here and start playing. So, of course, me with no levels, New Game Plus Ludwig was a fun time, a very fun time. I spent so much time on that fight, getting one shot every single time.
He's hard on regular.
Stubborn that I was like, I'm not going to go grind. And I eventually beat it, eventually beat it. Then made my way down to Orphan, and it worked out pretty well. But I'd say, yeah, New Game Plus Ludwig with no leveling, or they're both going to be probably Bloodborne because Lawrence was also a pain for me because it was just a war of attrition. His health bar just would not go down. I was not doing enough damage, so that was pretty rough too. Those two, usually most of my boss fight issues are usually because of just them tanking, like Midir, for example, in Dark Souls 3. Just that fight was, I'm like, bruh, you won't die. Just, but yeah, I'd say Ludwig was probably the hardest for me at first because every single time I get one shot, one hit was over.
And that's the thing about the DLC is that they don't really warn you that, hey, like, yeah, you can trigger the DLC, but that means that the DLC is scaled to the DLC. So if you're not ready for it, you're gonna get,
I don't have an issue when like there's situations where, so like for Orphan, for example, a lot of the time I just made a mistake and then it's over, and I'm okay with that. But with Ludwig, it's like hitbox. Good luck.
Yeah,
I don't know where I'm gonna end up sometimes.
Yeah. How about you, Joseph?
Let me tell you. First off, can I curse? What's off limits?
It's
the voice in the sky says no F-bombs, please.
Okay. Listen, I got a bleep button. Thank God. Lord Ishin, the Great Owl Shinobi, can themselves. I hate them both. I hate them so much. I've never uninstalled a game more than Sekiro, but then coming back to it. Then when I fought the Great Owl, he's a real son of a gun.
The one in Harada Estate specifically.
The Harada Estate one, yeah, because like the other one you could cheese. You can really run away. Like all it is running, slashing and running away. The Harada Estate one is relentless. He's just a D-bag. He's just the worst type of human. I hate him. And the one thing is why I think Sekiro in my pillars on third is literally because this guy, to me, defeats the purpose of what from games design themselves as of like, you're going to have a challenge, but it's going to be fair. And we're going to obey the rules just like you're going to obey the rules. It's like we're setting this rule book down. And I feel like Great Owl Ishin the Great Owl, just tosses it out. And I just hate his guts so much. I have nothing nice to say to that. And whoever designed them, we're gonna have words.
Turning into a Sekiro hate panel.
I know, right?
No, but here's the thing. Other than that, Sekiro has, we'll get into it, the best boss fights, just period. But those two, Ishin, better. Great Owl? Oh.
How about the Fiery Bull?
So the Fiery Bull is an idiot. And I hate the Fire Bull
because that has no patterns. I'm
It
sorry.
has no patterns, but
You know, they
once-
patched it to make him easier, right? The bull, when it first came out upon release,
really?
for the first 10 days, it was literally impossible to beat it because of how buffed it was. And they released a patch note, go look at it, where they made it easier to fight. I beat him before the patch note came out. So when I found out after the fact, I was pissed. That was not worth my mental health. Like,
No.
it's just-
No, it's not, because like you could get that idiot down into a corner. I talk shit to the bull. You could get that dum to a corner and he'll get stuck there. He just doesn't know.
A real life cowboy
Yeah.
out here.
And I just
luring the
slash
bull to
him.
a corner.
And bam,
Wow.
he's done.
Wow, so a couple of Sekiros right there. How about you, Lanny? What was yours?
Well,
Most?
things are getting very personal. I think for Bloodborne, Lawrence definitely the worst for me because
Oh.
it's just the only boss that isn't fun. Everything else is challenging, but like Joseph says, like there's a reward. There's like a system that this is going to be hard, but it's going to be worth it, and you're going to feel satisfied by the end of this. And even Orphan of Kos, like at a certain point, kind of becomes fun, and it's like, hell yeah, at the end. But Lawrence is just awful. I just was not having good RNG, and it was not fun. Mikolash is the stupid boss of that game. It's just dumb. But Lawrence is just I'm in New Game Plus right now, and I'm in Ludwig, and I don't want to finish it because I don't want to fight Lawrence on New Game Plus. But for Dark Souls 2 at the moment, all of the bosses have been pretty fine. I'm just stuck at the Ancient Dragon because it has so much goddamn health. So it's kind of a wall. So I might not beat him. But I know that Lawrence is probably the worst. Definitely the worst.
Yeah, I think for Lawrence, you just have to have a lot of fire resistance. and,
Stats don't matter in From Software games. Let's relax.
it doesn't matter in Bloodborne for some reason.
Fashion. It's fashion.
Yeah.
You put on that loincloth and you go fight Lawrence immediately.
I'm gonna look really good dying.
But that actually brings me to my next question. Is like, so what kind of build do you guys go for like the first time around? Like, is there like a specific like way that you choose to start your character? Like, is it a mage? Is it a strength build? I know Sharif, I think you start with the loincloth.
You're kind of giving me away a little bit here. Yeah, I do. You just dump all your stats into strength, stamina to swing your club as many times as possible. You close your eyes and you play the game. And that's first playthrough. Second one, I'll spice it up with pyromancy or something.
Okay. Nice choice of words. How about you, Joseph? What's your start?
I'm more traditional. I'm the knight 9 times out of 10. There's just something nice about having a block, a parry, and a stabby stab. But if I'm playing Bloodborne, it is really hard. And I literally just, because I've been playing the Old Hunters DLC for the first time. I've been waiting for that 60 FPS patch for so long. And unlike me, I don't play DLC to any game. Like once I beat it, I beat it. It's been 6 months. I forgot it. That's how I usually am when it comes to DLC. But of course, it's Bloodborne, so I have to go to it. But I'm always with the saw cleaver. That is to me the most iconic From weapon ever. It's beautiful. Like I want one so bad. I want to cosplay one to hang up somewhere. Just the specialty side of it is just incredible. But there's like a I forget what they call it in the Old Hunters, but it's like the thingamajig saw. It's like
the whirligig.
Whirligig.
Yeah, the whirligig. And I'm like, oh, this name is
Pizza
derpy.
cutter.
Yeah.
Pizza cutter of death.
I'm like, I'm gonna make it a pizza out of this boss's face, and it is so much fun because it's like
So goofy.
when you're like holding it, you're like revving it like an engine, which doesn't make sense. But man, does it feel good when you're just hitting a guy over the head.
I love holding L2 and then it turns into like a lawnmower. You just
Yeah,
mow these
exactly.
guys away. It's crazy.
It's like a weed whacking my enemy's ankles. Yeah.
Yeah,
Love
Bloodborne
it.
DLC is top notch, man.
Oh, yeah.
Like, especially
the
like
best.
lore wise, like the
Yeah.
good stuff there. It's tasty.
The best. How about you, Lee? How do you start out?
Man, I usually always go a dex build, and I'm usually weaving it up, rocking some kind of katana and kind of glass cannon, and just pump most stuff into stamina and dex, which is kind of, I wonder if I do this deliberately, because every other game, like if it's an MMO or like League of Legends or anything, like I'm usually a tank, right? So I'm just like kind of standing there bullet sponging. So I don't know why for these games I go the opposite direction, and maybe it makes it harder on myself because it's so counterintuitive to the way I play other games, but that's my go-to.
Yeah, like the glass cannon is like what you do like on your maybe third character, fourth character, you know?
I kind of like the
Now
challenge.
that you know the world.
It feels like it feels like real, like, you know, in real life, one shot you're like dead. So it's like, you know, I don't know.
How about you, Lenny?
Well, I didn't know what to get into when I first started playing them, so I was like, as long as I have a sword, I think I'll be okay for my first playthrough. And so I was knight in Dark Souls 2, and I mean, I started in Bloodborne. So the weird thing of Bloodborne being your first Dark Souls or From Software game is that you play Bloodborne and you're like, this is amazing. It's fast, the movement is great, you can use heals really quickly, and everything is like very purposeful. And then I was like, this is great, Dark Souls, bring it on. And then it's Dark Souls 2. I was like, this sucks. But coming from Bloodborne, like there isn't really a lot of like magic. Arcane is really kind of end game stuff. So I thought that in Dark Souls, I didn't know what it would be like. So I was like, again, like I'll go knight and then I'll see what magic is in this game. And it actually seems like there's a lot of it. So I don't know, maybe down the road, maybe I'll do magic in Dark Souls 3 or something. But yeah, usually knight, something like conservative that, again, like parry block, stabby stab, slash, it's all good.
Yeah, I feel like From Software games sort of ease you into being the knight first, because honestly, like a lot of the first weapons aren't like knight weapons, you know, like you get the short sword or you get like a, you know, like a knight set or whatever. So it almost feels like they want you to start off as that.
Yeah.
What do you think,
on
Danny?
the builds? Yeah, I mean, like a lot of the promo stuff, they're usually like got a night thing going on.
Yeah.
I mean,
And Danny, how about you?
Well, you know, I'm a bit of an everyman because I will try any kind of build depending on how I'm feeling. You know, I say I lean more towards decks. I like to be, you know, a bit well-rounded. I like some range weapons, that kind of stuff. But first playthrough on Dark Souls, I was rocking that two-hander, just two-handing,
Wow.
smashing everything over the head. Just then I got that Havel, you know. Oh man, I was going ham. But now, like Dark Souls 3, I started messing a bit more with Pyro, and I like that kind of build now a bit more. So I think in Elden Ring, I'm definitely going to probably be a bit balanced with like some sorcery and maybe, you know, mix it up a bit on that end because it came in handy, you know, with being versatile in some of those boss fights. That if I had just been a strength build, would have been a bit rough on that end. So yeah, I like to keep it pretty ranged. Now, as far as like Bloodborne, it depends on how I'm feeling, you know, because I rock the Chicago whatever and just going pairing everything and having just put all my stats into it as well. And it feels good.
How about the cane?
Now, the cane is good too, you know.
Yeah.
My first
anti-cane.
was Hunter Axe the entire way, pretty much. I rocked that and just range all day long. But yeah, I like to change it up for different builds. You know, Demon Souls, same thing. I actually got more appreciation for Magic because of Demon Souls. I've been actually like working my way through a no diff run in the remake. And I'm going down to one death. I got killed in the freaking man-eater fight. I was so mad. But it was a pretty nice improvement. I went from like 14 deaths to 1 in the run. And that run, I was stacking magic, you know, putting the stats into it. So I have a bit more appreciation for it now. I'll probably use more of that moving forward.
Nice. Well, since you died at the man-eaters fight, why didn't you call for help? That brings us to our next question. There seems to be like a stigma, like when it comes to like summoning for help. Like I have a cousin who plays and he's like, he never summons, right? He's like, no, never. I got this. I'm like, bro, there's no, it's there. It's part of the game design. It's there, you know, to cooperate. So how do you guys feel about that? Is it, should people be ashamed of that for asking for help? Or is it like you're cheating the game or whatever?
I mean, hell no. You can play out.
Like, what do you think, Danny?
But,
right.
You know, I mean, I personally like to play on my own for the first playthrough. I just like the challenge. But as far as
Yeah.
like multiple playthroughs and when I'm playing through again, I always try and invite friends, like to get in, have some fun on the boss and stuff like that. And you also have to keep in mind that, it depends on your play style too, because, when you do have more people summoned in, it also increases the boss's health. So if they die in the boss room, you're gonna have to do a lot more damage to get them out of here. So something to keep in mind, but I don't think it's cool to shame people for wanting to play a cooperative game when it's in the game for that reason. People complain about there not being an easy mode when you have the opportunity to work with other people or even NPC summons, those kind of things.
Exactly.
They're there for that reason.
Yeah.
Help you. So yeah, nothing wrong with me.
Yeah. How about you, Joseph? Do you summon on your first playthrough, or do you?
I actually just started. So I'm the type of guy where I'm the type of person where if I'm a longtime Star Wars fan, been a Star Wars fan since I was a toddler. But if you just started watching, the Book of Boba Fett and now you're a Star Wars fan, you are at the same level as I. Like if you love the universe, you love it. And that's what I'm happy about. Like, more people need to love things and let people love things.
Damn right.
So that said, I've never really used summons until I think like my platinum run for Bloodborne a few years back. And with, I think, Dark Souls 3, I've used it once or twice. My reasoning of not wanting summons is actually just on the off chance of like, well, I just gave the boss more help, and chances are my guy here's a big dumb idiot, so I can't. I'm not gonna risk it. It's happened too many times. It's worked against me, so I don't do summons. And when it comes to like summoning friends, well, that's another story on its own because I've never done it. Not because I don't want to, but because the way From Software is like, bring in your friends, where's your social security? You need to be in this location at this hour. It's nonsense. So to me, I don't care if you cheese the boss. Guess what? The Demon of Hatred, he ran down that cliff out of his own volition. I don't care. I beat him. It's fine. Whatever you need to do to win. If it's in the game, go for it.
So what do you think, Sharif?
So I wasn't privileged enough to have PSN Network growing up, so I could not utilize the online features. So I had to go through most of the games on my own on offline mode. So I didn't get the privilege of summoning people until way later into my From Software gaming thing. Do I think the community gatekeeps a lot when it comes to like how hard the games are and how prideful we are of how difficult that it can be for people? Do I get upset when people summon? Absolutely not. If you want to do it, if you're sitting there like struggling on Demon in Pain, turning into the Demon Prince, like go ahead and use somebody to take the aggro off of you. It's okay. So I'm not going to get upset that you do it. Do I think you should give it a shot on your own first every time? Absolutely. So
yeah. I kind of like how Bloodborne handles it. Like if you summon somebody, then that.
Yeah,
that meeting comes
I know
with the bell.
Sekiro doesn't have summoning anyways, but if you use the puppeteering jutsu, like that's cool. Like you could utilize puppeteering. I know, and I don't want to jump the gun, but Elden Ring, you're allowed to summon enemies to help you and kind of utilize those. So that's an exciting feature.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, Lee?
Things going on with that too. Yeah. Looking forward to.
I mean, I'm the same, right? Like you should play the game however you want to play the game, and the things are in the game for a reason. So you can utilize whatever you want. And same, if as you say, if the Demon of Hatred ran off that cliff, well then, so be it. That's,
exactly.
That happens in life too. Historically, I just slipped on a rock and lost a duel that I should never have lost, or whatever. But I mean, but personally, I don't summon. I just like to do it myself, and I don't know, like, because again, I'm not going to gatekeep anyone else's experience. And, like I have friends who play game on like the easiest mode or story mode because they just want to get through it and experience the story. And I also think that's valid. But I just want that, like, gaming for me is such a self thing. Like I want the satisfaction of just like, I one-on-one that boss and I beat that boss and whatever happened. So.
And Sekiro delivers that in spades, man. That sense of, oh my God.
Well, and see, like, not to whatever, but I think that's in a way what I like about it, maybe because because it's not a question of leveling or builds or whatever. Because when you play Dark Souls or Bloodborne, and I guess it's part of it, like some bosses are easier based on your build, or you can kind of go away and grind a bit, or you can like, oh well, I was Dex, but I'll just respec and stack poison. Like I think the thing I like about Sekiro is it's just there's none of that. It's just you and the basic mechanics against the boss and his basic mechanics or her basic mechanics. So that's just how it is.
Yeah, it's just you and the sword. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Lenny?
Well, it's nice that we're all kind of in agreement that people should be able to play however they want. And I didn't have PSN growing up either, and I still don't have it. I don't really play multiplayer games, so I don't need it. So I can't speak to like summoning and friends and stuff in friend games, but I am a big accessibility advocate. And so friend games are really not that accessibility friendly, but the least it can do is allow someone to buy the game and play it and get from the beginning to the end. And if that means that you're summoning either like friends or NPCs for you to do that, like it's the game and it has a tool, and the game is saying, here, use this tool. So to be shamed for playing the game literally as the developers are intending you to is very silly. I didn't use them too much, but there were definitely some fights like Bloodstarved Beast where just having that distraction so you can just get those fractions of a second that you need to just finish the fight. That was useful. But otherwise, like, yeah, you want to try and do things on your own, but you can just be like, you know what? I don't have that much energy today. I'm just gonna summon and see what happens. But I mean, it's a great feature, and people should not be gatekeeping that.
Yeah, that's one of the
100%.
hardest bosses too. The
Ton of
Bloodstarved
money
Beast.
goes into that stuff. It's not like they just tossing it in. There's a lot of development process that goes into adding in NPCs at certain areas, and the ones that they choose for certain boss fights, those kind of things. Like, and balancing all of that takes time and effort. And plus, like, I think like it brings a different experience if you are playing through like on a second playthrough with a few friends, and then you get invaded. There's a whole different dynamic there in certain situations when that happens. So, like, for me, going through the PvP eras of Dark Souls 2, for example, and like just making all kind of crazy builds, it's a lot of fun sometimes of just kind of being involved in some chaos in someone's world, helping them with a boss fight, and then some people come in. You got to kind of gang stomp. It's some fun times.
All right, and the final question for this part of the panel, sort of, what is your most memorable moments? And we're gonna start with Lanny and go all the way down from there. The most memorable moment, it could be a fight, it could be a death. Those are certainly memorable.
Yeah, there's a couple. In Dark Souls 1, you have this build up, you're going to all these amazing levels. And the thing that really struck me watching Andy's playthrough was like, I didn't know that the creature variety in that game, there's like 40 different kinds of enemies, and they're all completely different. And it just was mind-boggling for me as a designer and an animator. It's just like kind of I take all of this stuff in, and it's just like, this is so unique. And it's just like, you'd think in a game like maybe there'd be like 10 enemies and variations of them, but it's like, no, here's like a skeleton pinwheel, here's like all those kinds of different things. So when you play and you're getting to the very end and you're going to Lord Gwyn, and I imagine as the final boss, things have already been epic along the way, like amazing boss fights, amazing music and stuff. And he was going to Gwyn, and I was building this up to myself as like, this is going to be crazy. And then you go through the mist and the beautiful piano starts playing. And that was the moment that I really fell in love with From Software. Like, wow. Like, I will think of that for the rest of my life, because you think it's going to be this huge final showdown, and you realize like, oh, he's been down here for hundreds of years waiting to be defeated. Like, you're going into this fight and he knows he's not going to win. So this is like his lament. This is like his swan song. And it's just like totally flips the script, like in just a moment and a single note of music. Another was like all of Artorias' storyline coming together is just unreal. And he's definitely like one of my favorite characters in fiction. Like, instantly. It's just, he's the coolest. His design is amazing, and he has Sif and all this stuff. And you go back in time and you save his soul, and just, oh, it's all great. In Bloodborne, Ludwig kind of also, Ludwig is like my Artorias of Bloodborne. Like that's the feeling that I have for him. And he, like, you learn a little bit through all of like the item descriptions and lore. A little bit, you get this idea of who Ludwig is. He was this incredible, like, pure warrior, ultimate guy. And then you find him, and it's like he's in the pile of flesh, and he's a monster. But he reclaims his humanity halfway through, and then like he's not the accursed anymore, and he has this amazing fight music, and it's just really cool. And then having that sword and fighting him with it in New Game Plus was awesome. And last but not least, the DLC in Bloodborne. There's rarely been DLC that's really like impressed me that much or is important or consequential, but I was really floored by the Old Hunters, because Bloodborne is a lot less, like, I was surprised playing Dark Souls how many people were talking, like how much dialogue and like how much you're getting. Bloodborne is a lot more vague, and you kind of have to fill in the blanks yourself. But basically the DLC going like, we're going to go back in time and we're going to show you how the 3 institutions in the Bloodborne universe screwed everything up, and like what each great sins of the Church, the Hunters, and Bergenworth scholars are. And it's just so cool. It just pulls so much together. So yeah, that's a couple of things, but it's just so good at tying those storylines and that lore together. Even if it feels like you don't always have everything, by the time it matters and you get to that point, you're like, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, I think walking by that house, with all the women laughing hysterically,
Yeah,
and you don't know what they're laughing about, and it's just like, that to me will forever be a memory.
They're just having the bourgeois, like, hunter knight orgy without you.
All right, Lee, how do you top that?
Yeah. God, that was so good. Dancer is one of my favorites, I think. Like, just because, again, the design and the atmosphere and the music and just the fight, I just really, really liked Dancer. I thought that was a great fight in 3. So yeah,
that fight to me was like, before the game came out, people were talking about that fight. Like, it was just like a must see fight, and it's very difficult too.
Yeah, but beautiful. Like, I don't know, it's
beautiful,
like, kind of like hauntingly beautiful, and like her movement, just everything about that fight, I just love. So yeah,
awesome. You can tell they put a lot of time into like that encounter, because I think they were using it for like demos and that kind of stuff before the game came out. So she has a lot more going on, a lot more moveset than some of the other boss fights, I feel like, and so it can be interesting.
Absolutely. Sharif.
So I'm trying to think of like, what is a classic Miyazaki moment that really stuck me in the gut? And no, it's not a poison swamp. I think what Miyazaki did was similar to the Guardian Ape, killing him for the first time and getting the victory and the achievement just for it to get back up. That moment is horrible. And he did it similarly in the DLC of Dark Souls 3, when you were beating Sister Fried and you're like, you get the Titanite slab. Like, I took my reward. And she gets back up. Like, those moments, please don't do that to me again. So that's definitely a Miyazaki moment for me. In terms of like environment, Bloodborne, when you meet the Snatcher for the first time outside of Cathedral Ward, and he kidnaps you and he throws you into the dungeon, like the Hypogean, something like that. Usually all the areas in Bloodborne have no music whatsoever, and it's just you walking through. That is the first area in the game where they have a constant like sound and music while you're going through there. The unsettlingness of that and how creepy it felt, that stuck with me. Getting kidnapped by the Snatcher and going to that secret area, creepy, very creepy.
That's a good one. Getting kidnapped, that's a good one.
Yeah, always a bad time.
In Dark Souls 1, you get kidnapped by that giant bird too.
Well, not as horrific as what Bloodborne does
Right,
to
right.
people.
That was kind of beautiful, actually.
I just appreciate how like you're a hunter of all these badass weapons, and then this guy with a bag and his fist
Yeah.
just beats
I
the
got
crap out of you
bagged
and
that
throws you in
night.
it.
He just bonks you on the head. Yeah.
Yeah, the skinny ass guy with a bag. Come on.
So
Oh,
those
you,
are
Joseph.
definitely two moments.
It would be great if I unmuted myself. So, okay, we're going to total spoilers, right? Here we go. The most memorable, there are two most memorable. I think they're on even keel with me. So let's talk about the best. Oh, well, no, I'm going to save that. Let's talk about one of the best moments is at the very end of Bloodborne, you're fighting Guermin. Guermin, I thought he was your pal. I thought he was your buddy. I thought, he's helping me out. I'm helping him out. Sure, he says something really creepy about the doll. And
Yes,
I'm
he
remembering
does.
that in the
Yes.
back of my mind. I'm like, he's cool. He's cool with me, but he said something
a
really
weirdo.
weird. It's really, there's something, But so the first time I accepted, I done let him, decapitate me. And then I played it again the second time, right? Because I found out that I accidentally beat the game semi unfairly because there's a glitch in the first month where if you put your PlayStation 4 on sleep mode, half of the bosses wouldn't do their movesets or half of their movesets. Especially I think Orphan of Cause. Yeah. So I was like, okay, I gotta beat this game again just to prove that I did it. Nobody can tell me nothing. And so when I deny Guermin's request, when he gets up out of that wheelchair, and I'm like, what?
He
And then-
joins the hunt.
Oh my God, when he's like, Guermin joins the hunt, I am fully engorged, Sharif. Oh my God. I'm like, let's go. And the music is incredible. And then he unleashes this huge scythe. This is someone that, the player kind of looked down on, literally. And then the switcheroo is he's now this towering menace. And it's kind of like the equivalent of Yoda in Attack of the Clones, where you got through 2.5 of bad movie to get to this awesome part when you're 8 years old and you could, believe in a higher power again. That, where Yoda's doing all the flips, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it for me in Guermin territory. Yeah, I'm Count Dooku, and this guy messed me up for an hour 15. And it's just such a beautiful fight because you're in those flowers, man. You're in this beautiful petal field. It's just the setting. I remember my jaw just literally just dropped. Just at that cutscene. It's just so powerful.
I mean, that setting is so beautiful. They copy and pasted it and put it right in Sekiro. The field.
Yes.
You're fighting.
Yes.
The exact same
Ouch,
setup.
Carlos.
Yeah.
Hey, they're both beautiful.
Now, real talk though, the other moment for me is when I beat, I think, Lord Ishin, with the final blow being I caught the lightning and I threw it back at him.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So badass.
So good. So good.
And it's not impossible to do. It's an easy.
No, you just jump in the air and you swing.
Exactly.
And then you're like,
That's it.
take that,
Yeah.
you son of a gun,
So satisfying.
Oh, so good it felt.
Danny.
Great.
Well,
Give it to me.
I consider myself a pretty solid lore aficionado, so I have a few different moments that
Mm.
definitely hit me. For starters, talk about Maria. Maria is so much involved in the Bloodborne lore, both between Gehrman and the fishing hamlet and all of that goodness there. That boss fight was pretty badass just in general, but just tying it into the Wild Bloods and all that was really awesome to me. So that definitely was a big moment. Seeing the ability to be able to fight her and having that showdown stuck with me really, really heavily. I'd say one of my favorite areas that really stuck with me as well was Tower of Latria, especially in Demon Souls remake. I had a great time with just finding my way through that nightmare. but there's so much atmosphere in that area that I think is just really good game design, and it really shows through in a lot of that content. Going back to my first Dark Souls playthrough, big moment outside of ONS, which is obviously a big moment for a lot of people, but when the when the firekeeper was gone because good old Lautrec had murdered her. That I was not expecting that at all in my first playthrough. And I was like, where is she? What happened? And so having to go back there and find out what's going on, figure out how to save her, get things together. That was that got me more into the game in my first playthrough.
And it's beautiful because it doesn't happen in a cutscene. It happens with you just exploring the world. It just happens organically, and you sort of are left to piece it together yourself. And
it was pretty awesome.
Tragic. Yeah.
Also, I got to give some love to Nameless King because that entire situation, I was like, Dark Souls 3, you've been pretty good, but I'm handling it pretty well. Most of these fights, I'm getting through, I'm making it through. And Nameless King happens, riding in on this freaking dragon or whatever you want to call it, and that was like, okay, we're moving things up. So. Yeah, I really appreciate that it seemed like they kind of ramped things up with the level of both difficulty, but also bringing things kind of full circle again with that content between him and Gale. So I liked that they brought those elements in a way that I wasn't expecting them to with the game.
Yeah, I mean it's man, just the fights, the lore, just the gameplay. So many memorable moments. And they do it every game. It's incredible how consistent they are.
Yeah, for sure.
So
they reward you for exploring.
Yeah,
that's always important to me in these games.
And with that, how would you guys recommend people, if it was their first From Software game, like how would you guys recommend people go about it? What would be the first game that you would say, okay, you should play Dark Souls 3? Like Sharif.
I think you should play Dark Souls 3.
3's pretty good.
It's forgiving. Graphics are good. I think it's super easy for people to get into. I think it's not forgiving, that's a bad word, but more forgiving for people who are new, especially people are spoiled with good graphics these days, for sure, that they don't appreciate the classics. So it's easier for you to get into Dark Souls 3 or Monster Hunter World over playing the original ones. Just get into that first, and then once you get a taste for it, you can branch out from there, for sure. Or Bloodborne, because that's clearly a fan favorite in this room. Lee aside.
It is perfect. It is perfect. Literally perfect.
My favorite game.
What do you guys think? How about you, Lee?
Yeah, I'd agree. I think Dark Souls 3, it's the most, it feels the most beginner friendly, and you're right, the graphics, when it seems more balanced, and I think that's the best place to start, for sure.
Yeah, I think I agree. With you guys. How about you, Lenny?
I started with Bloodborne, and it spoiled me going backwards because the mechanics are just so different and a lot slower. So a lot of people have been like, oh, if you play Bloodborne, what other one should I play? Everyone says Dark Souls 3 because Dark Souls 3 was on the way to Bloodborne. So there's elements of Bloodborne already in that. And then in Bloodborne, there's elements of Sekiro, like the Maria fight. I love the Maria fight. And someone told me, if you really like the Maria fight, then you'll love Sekiro because it's all about rhythm and movement and stuff. I would say Bloodborne. It's just so good. It's so linear but not linear. It's very fast and forgiving, and I found it really easy to pick up. The learning curve, way better than Dark Souls. So that's what I would say. I say Bloodborne and then go to probably Dark Souls 3.
Yeah, Bloodborne is a good one, actually.
Yeah, I got a lot of friends in it that their first Souls is Bloodborne because it was free for a lot of people on PSN.
Oh, right.
So they give it a try for the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and it's part of the PS Plus collection or whatever. So
yeah,
a lot of folks can just hop on and try it out. And I'd say there's some simplicity to it as well because you have your base weapon you start off with. You can go through the entire game with the stock cleaver. From rip. So if you have trouble with variety or making choices in that way, You can kind of it's more simple for sticking to one weapon or whatever, and you don't have to worry about armor builds, pretty much either compared to a Dark Souls game, or equip load and all that kind of all that kind of stuff, and keeping your rolls, light.
Fat rolls.
Yeah,
So don't
There's
worry
only like
about
25
it.
weapons. There's only like 25 weapons. It's like it's really,
Yeah.
it's
So
not
I mean,
much.
to that point, and plus, I feel like with Bloodborne, it's so fine tuned that a lot of times, I feel like if I were to end up dead, it's because I made a mistake. I don't feel like it's the game that's creating a situation where it was unfair
Yeah.
in comparison to like some of the older titles where I'm gonna hit the walls, stuff is glitching out.
Bed of Chaos. Yes.
Yeah, like there's not the same level of jank I feel like in Bloodborne as some of the older titles, but at the same time, I like some of that jank. So
Yeah.
Anybody do it too hard, but yeah, I'd say like Bloodborne is probably Bloodborne or Dark Souls 3 because they were both being made back to back basically, so they had that same kind of streamlined approach to the gameplay to a certain extent. So those two would be probably the easiest ones to approach early on.
Joseph, you're probably gonna say the GOAT, right?
I mean, of course I'm going to say the GOAT, but so Bloodborne, yes. If you're new, it's not to say forgiving, but like if you mess up the pattern, you could get most of your health back. I was talking to my good friend Ains. We both agree. The only one real problem with Bloodborne is blood vials are dumb and I don't like them. But for newcomers, it's really good to know that you have 20 opportunities to heal yourself, right? Opposed to 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever, Estus flasks. So Bloodborne becomes an easy choice off the gate. I would say Dark Souls 3, because mechanically it's probably the most fine-tuned we'll see with Elden Ring. But I'm actually going to say something pretty nuts. You gotta go with Demon Souls on PS5. Now, the most challenging thing about Demon Souls on PS5 is getting the PS5. Once you get it,
There you go.
You go with the mage class. And that's going to help you because it is legitimately an easier time with them because you can distance yourself from the enemies. You're usually the one that's going to have the first attack. And when it comes to certain boss fights, you kind of get to avoid some of their more devastating attacks or like stomps or whatever. So I'm actually going to say Demon Souls, but even if, you couldn't find a PS5 and you had to settle for, an Xbox or something, I don't know. Xbox Series X with Game Pass and you download Dark Souls 3, then you go and you also pick, I think, like the Pyromancer, I think, right? It's pretty broken. So to me, I always say go magic because that's going to probably do you right.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy you said Demon Souls because the world tendency alone, that's kind of...
Yeah, I was gonna say
that is so brutal for new people.
Oh, really? Because like to me, again, since I'm a bit of a vet, humble brag, I walked in, I was just like, oh, this is world tendencies, all right. I'll just be in spirit mode, and I have so much health and all this, all this room to make mistakes. There are some the one annoying thing with Demon Souls, because it is really the thing that starts all of it, is the lack of checkpoint at the boss. Right. Having to run all the way back if you mess up. That definitely
grass
sucks.
Management.
Yeah.
They keep that grass on you at all times.
Absolutely. So yeah, I would say that's the only thing that kind of holds it back. But again, the magic and even the boss fights in that one are a bit easier as well. Like half of those bosses are genuinely an easier time because you could just shoot fireball at it, spam it at it, and it goes down relatively quick. It's only when you get into New Game Plus where things start getting really hairy. But if you're a new player, I bet you're just fine clearing the game once.
Yeah. And not even think about world tendency and character tendency.
You probably don't get the people that are going for the plat that hate world tendency wouldn't recommend, but But yeah, for newcomers, I think it's also it's beautiful. You just look at it, you want to touch the fire,
It's a
and you
gorgeous
can't.
game, yeah. But
Yeah.
speaking of
Yeah,
menus,
but
man, I
it's
can't.
almost too gorgeous, right? Like if you start somebody off with Demon Souls, and then you'd be like, "Yo, Dark Souls 1 was the next one
Yeah.
after
Yeah.
that."
It's hard. No, it really is. Cause like for me, you know, I try every year to get into Dark Souls 2, and that game's just booty, y'all. It ain't good. It's just it's hard to stare at. And so I get it. If you're more like a spoiled brat like me and I need nice things to look at, yeah, it may ruin you. But even then, I love Bloodborne, play it every year, and that thing, when I get into Old Yarnum, it's like a jalopy. It just starts skipping. I start dropping frames even on the PlayStation 5. It doesn't know how to handle it. You know, I get into one, cloud of smoke and I'm teleporting. So.
Oh man, it's man. I think for me personally, I think that Bloodborne is the perfect game.
That's right.
But now that you guys are talking about this, I think it's probably not the perfect game to start because it's so different, right? Like I just thought about that. Like it's almost too different to start off with that because then they're gonna wonder why isn't everyone like this? Like why isn't every other game like this? So for me, it'll be probably Dark Souls 3 for sure. But Demon Souls is a good one. I didn't think about that because it is pretty accessible in terms of bosses. I didn't think about that. That's a good point. This segment, we're going to be digging into Elden Ring, which From Software's next biggest title. And what's interesting is that over the years, you sort of see From Software take features and elements from previous games and placing them in their new titles. So what are some things that you guys are looking forward to, bringing it to Elden Ring? Whether it's an online function or maybe a mechanic that you really liked?
There's two things that I want to see in this game. I present case A. I want to know what makes this different. Because as much as I'm excited for Elden Ring, I very much am. I can't wait. My friends go, "Oh yeah, I cannot wait for Dark Souls 4." It does still look or resemble rather Dark Souls. And even in the combat we've seen, it takes a lot from Dark Souls. Now it has, of course, other mechanics that we know and love from other games, but that's the one thing is like, can they shake it? Because no doubt this game's gonna be great, but if it's just gonna be, I can think of the articles now of like, oh, this is just more Dark Souls. That's great and all, but I want this thing to have its own identity. And my other question as I ponder this game is how that open world is going to act. Because as we all know and love From Software, one of their best things isn't really in its combat, because combat's stellar, but it really is in its level design. The level design is ingenious. It's honeycombed. It's all interconnected in such just ingenious ways. Whoever is the level designer there is just playing 4D chess. I want to know how they translate that thought process of how they make linear level design into this broader scoped open world. So I'm really excited for this game, though the Dark Souls 4 symbolism I can't shake, and the fact that this is their first open world game gets me just a little nervous of seeing how they're gonna tackle that.
Yeah, that's a good point because moments like when the Firekeeper, is gone, or when things change because of a passage of time or because you did something, how is that going to work in an open world where it seems like persistent, right? Because you're in it. So I think you're on mute, Joseph.
I'm sorry. There's a loud Puerto Rican family. They're my Puerto Rican family in the back. They're yelling. No, is it through the time of day? Like, is that going to be the thing that's going to make the world different as well, or is it by a certain action or a boss that I've slain or haven't slain that the world changes? Like that's.
I mean, I can answer that if you want me to.
Yeah, what do you think, Danny?
I
Give
mean,
us the scoop.
there's 9-day cycles in that in game. It's something they wanted to implement into Dark Souls 3, but just couldn't get it into the game before it came out. So they've been planning on having a 9-day cycle with actual changes involved for a while now. And I think they also, elements of that we can kind of see in Bloodborne with the, as time shifts throughout, it gets later and later into the night. So they definitely want to play at the element in what they're doing now with Elden Ring.
Yeah.
I think you'll be pleasantly surprised with some of the, my just me hopping into the online beta, that kind of stuff. There's an actual map. Like, you see the map and anything from Soft related.
That's so weird.
I was like, whoa, wow, okay.
I'll never get used to the map. So
I mean,
yeah.
I'm kind of hoping it's a bit like, Red Dead Redemption 2. Like in that, I don't know if you guys played Red Dead Redemption 2, but there were so many just unique events that could happen and you could miss them, or like depending on what time of day or whatever. And like the basically the Devil's Shack, or like the chick that was in the outhouse. Like there's just so much stuff that was so unique and time gated or whatever. And I hope they kind of take a little bit from that to in the world of Elden Ring.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
Red
Dead, Elden Ring, greatest game of all time. There. What do you think, Lanny?
I haven't looked into it too much, and I haven't really watched much gameplay because I just want to go into it fresh. I don't want to know what the first hour and a half of the game looks like. I want to make my character, and I want to make my mistakes and figure things out. But I was reading the last classes came out late last night. I was reading about those, and I was reading about how stats work in it, because they're using different terms like armaments, and are they just trying to make this more complicated? But it's interesting actually to see how some of the stats work. Like they have a lot going on. It's not just like a strength or a dex. It also has to do with defenses, or like really specifically does something that can help you out in this way. So I'm interested to see how this more kind of unique stat stuff will affect your build, and how that will actually affect, like how effective you can be in the game, or what can be really useful in certain boss fights. But I agree with what Joseph is saying, because I think we have so many freaking open world games that we have open world game fatigue, and we think we know how every single one works because there are so many and they all act very similarly. But I mean, From has enough of a record of standing out and really making something unique and not like anything else. I think I don't doubt that they can't do that in a bigger world. And I mean, like, again, like, we have a map. That's crazy. I haven't played the beta or anything. So I think in my mind, I'm thinking open world. I'm thinking like enormous. And then really, how can that work as a From Software game? But I think it's smaller than my brain thinks it is. And I think that I hope that, like with Red Dead Redemption, there are just a lot of different things that will play with day and night. Like it's going to take a place in actually day and night, not just in one night for 40 hours. So I'm interested to see how that'll work. The other thing I'm interested in is that the general builds that you have as a character, like everybody's going to have a little bit of magic. Like you can do a little bit of magic, you can do some summoning. You can't like do the one where you turn into a dragon, but it looks like there'll be a little bit more that you can do in general. And I like that idea of like, I can fight and I can use, 2 swords and stuff, but I can also, like shoot a spell at somebody. So that seems pretty cool. I'm really just excited to be surprised, and I think I will be.
You know what what you said that intrigued me the most, that like anybody that isn't a From Software fan will just look at us all perplexed. We get excited over the little things. Like with Sekiro, there's a jump mechanic. And when we're like, they added a jump. guys,
Game
and
changer.
they're like, so Mario, you jump. You're like, you don't get it. This changes things. Like Lonnie, you're like, they gave us a map, and that's exciting. It legitimately is.
Yeah.
But to most people, they're like, yes.
What are these idiots talking about? Of course there's a map. It's an open world.
Even that mounted combat is now going to become
my
it's
God.
going to be a game changer. I'm watching some of the gameplay and I see you could like run through a camp on your horse and just side slash as you would like. I think that's phenomenal. It's the small things that makes me happy.
I almost
yeah.
I almost forgot about the mount. Oh my god, I'm so excited. You just get to do like Princess Mononoke and you get to be a cool and go
Absolutely. The double jump with the deer horse.
Well, I can tell you right now, you can run through that camp and they can definitely knock you off that horse and then stomp you out with weapons.
I feel like I'm having a Shadow of the Colossus moment where my mount might die and I'm going to get really sad about it. But also what Lonnie was saying about open world fatigue, I definitely believe that's a thing. I'm excited to see how From Software is going to take on an open world with interacting with day and night. I'm wondering, like, do I have to do fetching quests or like go back and get items, pick up like 5 pieces of grass and bring it to an NPC pot and wonder if he gives me like a chunk of like material that I need to very interesting. I'm also wondering, maybe I'm going to get like a dating simulator. I get to pick my waifu again. Like, who knows what's going to happen? Because I marry Henri 10 out of 10 times and like kill her, unfortunately.
I don't know why, but I'm thinking, Sharif, you're just walking down the park perfectly happy, content, holding hands with like the guy from the trailer that has like an arm for a forehead.
Yeah.
Like, this is my boyfriend Eric. Isn't he a hunk? And you're like, yeah, he's sightly.
So I definitely want to know how they're going to take on, like, what tasks are we going to have in an open world. I'm super excited about that. They also brought back stealth from Sekiro. Maybe we can have more fun and you could be your own little Ghost of Tsushima running around and being a little like, I'm in the brush, no one knows I'm here, and that's how I'm going to clear camps.
If they just take the backstab from Sekiro, that's a 10 out of 10 game we're looking at right there.
I'm cheesing the corrupted monk every playthrough. Like, I'm up in the branches and I'm jumping down. Refresh. So those are all things that are great. Also, the sorcery in Elden Ring looks out of this world. Gorgeous. Out of all From Software games I've seen, beautiful. There's like one of them that has like a ground upward slash that just runs through like 10 waves of enemies. Like, even though I am a strength build and I will run around with a club, I'm picking up a wand, maybe. But don't tell anyone. I might lose like street credits in my back pocket. I got a dainty wand.
Yeah, watching the Elden Ring trailers has definitely been like, should I be a mage? It's like the one time it's crossed my mind, like, am I gonna do magic the first time?
Am I a wizard?
Am I a wizard?
The magic excites me for sure. There's a lot of mysteriousness there with just how much they've increased the range. It seems like they're really trying to fine tune, adding in more of that kind of element into their title moving forward, which I'm excited for. Also, the summons, like not the NPC summons, but like the actual summons you can actually use in game, is a new element that they're adding in, which I feel like there's a lot of they clearly want it to be like how they kind of give players a way to approach how they come at enemies and boss fights. So there's gonna be a lot of variety there as far as like you can actually summon your abilities, in fight and have like a team of wolves come in and like go ham. So like that kind of element I think is gonna be something I'm really excited to see. Like if I could like have my favorite type of summon and just build it up over time, it'd be really cool. I go full anime and just have like a wolf squad with me.
Did you hear that, Dex users? You can have wolves now.
That also brings up an interesting point with like how players can approach this world because it is open now. Do you feel like what's going to happen to the speedrunners who do Bloodborne in like 40 minutes? Like, how are they going to do this one?
Oh,
and is there a way?
Simple. There's people that have beaten Zelda Breath of the Wild in like 8.5 seconds, right? Like they'll do like some glitch. I'll toss them up in the air, sit at Hyrule Castle, and that's the thing. The ingenuity behind the fan base is incredible.
So, do you think that we'll be able to reach that tree, like right from the start, and just beat the game?
Oh man, touch a root.
there's some solid some solid wall action going on, invisible wall action going on in some of that area.
Yeah. Who
I mean,
knows?
there's definitely gonna be like your glitchless and then your your glitch runs, but I think it's gonna be a fair mix of the two. I mean, speed running, having seen people do all kind of ridiculous stuff with Bloodborne, I'm not gonna play anything past people because Bloodborne speed runs like you have to manipulate a box that you have to like push towards the edge and yarn them, and then you can somehow jump onto it and break through the glitch through the other side.
Mhm.
Like people spend like one of my friends was learning how to speed run that, and they spent like a good 40, 60 hours just gonna get that box switched down. It was ridiculous. But to be the best, you gotta do it, right? So like Elden Ring, I can only imagine what kind of exploits they're gonna have with that horse. Like just the horse or whatever you're riding on alone is gonna be something crazy. But,
I love the energy. To be the best, you got to do it.
Once you get that time going, it's like once someone sets that record with the box, no one can go back to without the box anymore. It's like you saved 40 seconds. Okay, that's a new best now. Like no going back.
Speedrunners are crazy, man, because I've beaten Bloodborne in an afternoon and I felt very proud of myself. Very proud. I'm like, this was a productive afternoon. But that's it. That's as far as I go. For people to be like, yeah, I found a way to beat this game in 0.9 seconds. I'm like, what? Why? You're crazy.
Yeah, I mean that crazy skip that they do, like where you let the wolf, where you let the werewolf like push you through the gate at the beginning of Bloodborne, and then all of a sudden you skip like hours of gameplay right there.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm actually more like interested in seeing no hit runners than the speed runs. I'm actually really looking forward to seeing how no hit runs go because there's always different strategies that the people go in with different builds. And the no hit run community, they've been really put in work this fast. Like during the pandemic, they've been grinding out some crazy runs.
I feel like if you're any From Software fan, the top tier level that you can achieve is like a no hit run or a soul level 1 run. So I think those people are extremely clever, and the way they exploit areas, I couldn't dream of it. So I don't put anything past them that they're going to be flying by, cheesing the mount to go through rocks. Like, go for it. I think they're going to do great. So,
yeah,
man, I saw a no stamina run for Bloodborne, and it blew my mind.
So why do you want
the run like 4 days long? Because they had
no, it did in like 2 hours.
What?
It was wild. Yeah, no stamina. No stamina.
Tactic.
But yeah, that to me is going to be interesting. How Elden Ring tackles that. How exploits are going to be identified in that game will be very interesting. But moving on, do you have any concerns for Elden Ring? Because I think I speak for everybody here. Like when they first showed that trailer for the first time, and we saw gameplay and we saw that amazing trailer, we thought that this was like everything we ever wanted, right? In terms of a From Software game. So like now that we're so close to release, are there any concerns? And that's going to go to anybody here.
So did that apply to like the open worlds, or like what are our concerns in regarding?
Yeah, concerns regarding open world. Is the story not going to be as sprawling because it isn't as focused like Sekiro was, or like even something?
I
like
mean,
Bloodborne?
to that point, like my only tiny concern is that they've said that the way that when they brought in George R.R. Martin to consult with the story elements, they said that they think he's going to be interested in how things have changed, since his original, because they had him come in basically to put together story and elements and backstory for most of the main, I guess you could say, like lords in the areas, to give that some of that, like, that vibe, because he's good at intertwining different families and kind of those concepts to work together. But
I found that. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, but I wonder how much of that is still around and how much was changed, and whether they found a good balance with how things started and where things are now with the final product. I mean, obviously, from a lore perspective, they got a good track record, But I'm just curious to see like how much of that is left behind, and whether it works for the direction they wanted to go with the game.
I mean, will it have an ending since George R. R. Martin is writing it? These are the things we have to be concerned about.
I was waiting for that.
Yeah. Had to. I'm sorry, I had to throw it in there. No, I really, my main concern is the thing that I'm most intrigued by is how are we going to differentiate it from Dark Souls? Because it's like, when you look at it, you could switch the title and people will be like, right? That's
true.
my main concern is like, how are these bosses really going to be different? Is this just going to be a best hits album? Or is this going to be something of substance? Like something
That was Dark Souls 3.
I think with From Software games, it goes both ways. Like you could either be a classic Dark Souls Bloodborne, or they could do something crazy like what they did with Sekiro and actually have a storyline. So I think the really cool things that makes maybe Elden Ring another classic Dark Souls is that the storyline is already done in all of these games. You're essentially a very replaceable character, whether you're the Ashen One, a hunter, and you're already put in a decaying world. The crap has already hit the fan. Everything is falling apart. The lords are gone. The hunters are loose. And you are a replaceable little guy running around and picking up pieces to these big worlds. So I'm wondering if you're in Elden Ring, are you essentially trying to create an ending that you choose for a world that's falling apart? So if you're going to say it's like a Dark Souls 4, it might be. Are you going to be like a cool Sekiro main character where if the wolf dies, the storyline is legitimately changed and you play a very essential role in like protecting the divine heir? What's your role here? I'm not sure what Elden Ring is going to do with it. Like, are we going to be another Ashen One, another hunter, and we're just a little born from the chaos, a byproduct of a storyline that was already created before the game even started? So I think that's exciting.
Hot damn, Sharif. You should pitch things. Pitch story, because that sounded, you just sold me on life. I don't.
Rise, tarnish. Yeah.
Yeah. That was dope.
Yeah.
Is Tarnished like the Ashen One? Is that like the same sort of motif? Like we're just, just some.
So I mean,
I
like
do
the
really love the coins of Ashen, Hunter, Tarnished. Call me whatever you want. Miyazaki, I'm here.
Sharif, we don't be thirsty on Maine. We don't, even for Miyazaki.
Yeah. Yeah, even for Miyazaki. Yeah. But that's a interesting angle there. Lee, since you probably Sekiro was probably a fair one, that had a pretty linear focus, right? Like it's sort of a tale of growth, of revenge. Tell me, is that something you hope to see out of Elden Ring?
I do really like a good tight story focused game, but then I also do just like a game where the mechanics are good. I almost feel like, we talk about how the open world is going to change things. I feel like it's still going to be pretty. I feel like it'd be like contained linear experience. Like if we think about like Dark Souls 3 of like, essentially you're going to defeat all these Lords of Cinder, but it's kind of in a set progression. I feel like it's going to be exactly the same, except now you can tackle them in any order you want. That's kind of my vibe of that's my sense of how it's going to be. So I think it will probably still tell a pretty concise, coherent story, and in many ways it'll be, a linear experience. It'll just, I always feel like it's the illusion of choice because, gamers, we're like so min-maxing and stuff anyway. So when we talk about speedrunners and all this stuff, even if it is open, I feel like you get these people like the optimal route is you go here, then you go here, then you go here. And like, you should, and like, even if the map is completely open, like this curvature is the min-max curvature to beat the game. And so it's kind of like I don't have any concerns and stuff because I feel like no matter what you do with a game, it inevitably devolves down to that. And I look at like, even when you like, like in League, I'm like so low, I'm like bronze or something, or in Warcraft, Warcraft, I'm not a top tier raider. But even when you're in those low ranks, people's like, well, you can't take that skill because it has 1% less damage than this skill. And you're like, dude, we're like in the lowest ranks. It doesn't really, this doesn't matter. Like,
you get pinged for your runes in the first second, and you're like, why'd you take that? And you're like, all right, game's lost.
Right? You're just like, what? So I kind of feel like, and maybe this is the cynic in me, that Elden Ring is going to end up the same. That even though you have all this stuff, all these people out there at the top end of the community are going to break it down to like this is the way it has to be done.
Yeah, I think I'm really looking forward to that. In terms of like, if you look at Firelink Shrine in Dark Souls 1, if you just go downstairs, you go to the Nulando ruins and get your ass kicked immediately, right? You go upstairs, there's a bunch of skeletons waiting for you. So I think Elden Ring is going to be that sort of format, but just blown up, right? So it's going to be, it's going to be, I think, and Danny, you could attest to that, right? Is that sort of how it's going to feel like?
Yeah, I
Danger
mean,
at
like,
every corner.
I feel like, well, like Joseph mentioned, about Dark Souls 4. I mean, I think there's elements of what FromSoft does well that you want to keep in there. Like, for example, like just the way that the first Dark Souls map is, everything's connected. I like that feeling that it makes the world feel lived in. Like, you're not being blocked off from different parts of the areas. That interconnectivity, I think, is a plus. It's definitely a benefit for the game overall. And then there's what interesting change, in my opinion, is that there's specific, like, there's dungeons more now. There's like extra like dungeon element to the game. So there's areas you might just find some random path that leads down somewhere, and it takes you to a dungeon area, but it's not necessarily going to be the same as a Dark Souls 3 situation where you end up in a boss fight right away or something like that. So you get to explore, and that curiosity can be rewarded, but you might just end up in a situation where it's not rewarded. You end up dead, and now you were on the path, and you were heading back towards a spot of grace or something like that, and was going to save, get your levels in, but then you got to go down that one path and look around a little bit and see what's going on. No, your souls are gone. Have fun, find your way back up there again. So like that element's still there. There's still a risk reward factor. Those kind of things. It feels good, but it's definitely exploration, which is what we want from open world.
That's what we want.
Yeah.
I think for me, I mean, I don't have any worries. This is still going to be a phenomenal game. What I'm more interested in than anything is the world building, because the article that Danny mentioned it was kind of misleading, because it tried to be like, oh, Miyazaki's like, oh, I hope you're okay with how we changed all of your stuff. But what he had said is that George R. R. Martin was working on creating the lore and the histories for a lot of the characters and houses and whatever. He had nothing to do with writing the story script. So Miyazaki is using George R. R. Martin's, like input in creating a tapestry of lore that he can then use to tell the story. And I think what the open world, I hope, is going to give us a big, interesting story. Because, like, let's face it, if we can pull an incredible, really complex story out of like 3 notes and item descriptions in Bloodborne, then the fact that they have committed to all of this like creative build and having it in a bigger world, I hope that it will actually have to do with progression, like we've been talking about, that maybe the more you know about a certain area is where you'll go. And if you go here first, then maybe you'll learn more about another place, rather than just like, you have to do all of this stuff. It's a big task, but we're going to tell you exactly how to do it. I don't think that's going to be the case in Elden Ring. And I hope that's what kind of will set it apart and make it feel bigger and more interesting.
I mean, if we could just keep asking Denny, he'll keep divulging the secrets of Elden Ring for us. I mean,
I will say that the game itself, it rewards free choice. Like, I think that they did a good job of making sure that you as a player, you get the opportunity to make choices, and that's part of the fun. It's not making a situation where like you have to go this pathway only, you can't do this this portion beforehand. Like it gives you choice, especially early on, with some of the stuff that we played. So, I think that people are gonna like that factor for sure.
I like how Danny's trying not to spill the beans, and I'm just like, I'm a steel trap. I'm not telling you nothing. Before a price, like I got student loans.
Yeah, well, how about sort of like a fun question. If you guys could be any NPC from all of these From Software games, who would it be?
Carlos, that's such an unfair question because you had
Sharif,
me
I'm
thinking.
gonna go with you first.
No, you just had me thinking, cool, what NPC would I want to be? Well, what NPC doesn't die? So I'm trying to think here.
Yeah, same. They're all pretty miserable.
Miserable shit. Yeah.
I know, right?
God, it's just really unfair. You could be like, oh, Solaire because he's the homie, or Onion Knight because he just offers me a beer every time I see him. Like, wow, great. I don't know. I guess I would go with Patches because he is the problematic fave, but at the
Dark
same
Souls or
time,
Bloodborne?
all of them, man.
Wow.
Patches, whether he's a spider or a person.
Even Spider-Man Patch.
Or Slav squatting in the hub, sitting there trying to like send me things for overpriced costs. Patches lives in an extremely depressing world where everyone dies or goes off to kill themselves, and I think he just has so much fun doing it. Like he's just having a great time.
Oh my
He
god.
has the most fun in these games. I think he has the most fun.
Patches has the most fun in these games.
He's just gaslighting everybody. That's nuts.
He's girl bossing and gatekeeping and pushing you off of gates as well.
To me, if I had to choose, I'd probably be the wolf. For several reasons. A, his name, dope. That's a good
Dope
name.
as
What's
hell.
your name? The wolf. Secondly, if I could just get like a go-go gadget arm, just what I can do with it, sky's the limit. I want to hook shot across the room, be my guest. I want to chop an onion. It's attached to my wrist. Honestly,
Firecrackers.
firecrackers. You need to light a birthday cake. Bam,
Yeah.
got it done. You name the thing that you need. Papa's got it in his forearm. It's just a dope mechanic. Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
a good
yeah, I
one.
would want that.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Denny?
If I could be any NPC, I would have to be. I want to be a crow hunter, like Eileen. I want to rock the gear.
That was
And
mine.
just go ham. I'm losing friends, unfortunately, but someone's got to do it.
We love
She's
an
the coolest.
employed woman.
She's the coolest.
Yeah. She has the best accent I've ever heard. Like,
Oh, yeah.
hunter must hunt. I'm like,
Yeah, I mean, she's got one of the best, story paths as well.
mhm.
Just the elements there, and
She's
yeah,
got
it
cool
sucks.
knives.
Okay,
But-
you lost your privilege to shame me, by the way, if you're gonna sit there and say Eileen's accent is hot, but I'm a bad person. I'm talking about
No, it's-
Miyazaki calling me names.
I'm not gonna Miyazaki shame anybody. I'm not saying her accent's hot. I mean her accent's cool. Like it's a cool accent.
Yeah.
I got a Jersey accent. This it sucks because it just comes off with an attitude, and I don't try it. And we say coffee weird apparently, but like Hunter, like she pronounces
Hunter.
U's like ooze.
I don't even know
love it.
what that is, to be honest. I
Yeah.
don't know what accent that is.
I think Scottish.
It's
Whatever
super
it
weird.
is, it's magnificent.
But yeah,
How about
I
you,
would
Lanny?
definitely have to go with Eileen, or if I want to have a little bit of fun, Alfred.
Ooh.
Just go off the deep end.
Man of the church.
Yeah, a zealot of sorts. Really to get those crazy violets out of here.
There's nothing holy about that man.
Although the healing church isn't really that holy when you think about
None
it.
of them are.
Nothing
Yeah.
wrong with being responsible for genocide, but yeah, whatever floats your boat.
Damn. How about you, Lanny? What's your choice?
I was thinking about this today, and I think the NPC I most relate to is Hawkeye Goth, the giant in the Dark Souls 1. He was the great dragon bow, and he would kill dragons from the tower, and then he got
I help
blinded.
anytime.
Yeah, he got blinded, and then he got imprisoned in this room where he just sits and he carves things, and you can buy them, and it'll say like hello or goodbye, and then if you use them, it'll say it, and it'll go. I mean, I can relate to that. I'm not a giant. I'm 4'10", but I can really relate to just kind of being stuck and handicapped a little bit, and just being like, I can sit here and I can draw like when my hands aren't shaking. That's all. That's what I can do. So that's probably me because I don't want to live in a Bloodborne world. It's too depressing. It's just too depressing. I have enough of that. I just want to sit in my
The
tower.
storyline you just described was nothing short of depressing.
I know. It's like the better of two.
It's an interesting choice. Wow. Is that the guy that you find in Anne Orlando?
Dead, yes.
That's the guy, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Amazing.
if you kill someone, he'll give you his bow. I think that's how it goes.
Yes. The dragon something
dragon
bow. Yeah.
But yeah, I would be Hawkeye Goth. That would be me.
That's interesting choice. Lee, as are you thinking over there?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I think Lord Ishin probably. Yeah.
Oh,
Hmm.
wow.
But I love a bit of tragedy and that kind of like honor, and then like at the end, it's like he doesn't really want to do that, but he's going to honor that wish, and there's just something so like tragic and conflicted about it all, and it's just classic tragedy.
Yeah.
How are you gonna come out of people? You know what I mean?
It's crazy.
You know?
That's insane. Is that the most insane thing that's happening?
I think so.
These Souls games, right? That's pretty crazy.
Because when I saw that, I was just like, I mean, can't happen.
It came out of nowhere.
But it's disturbing. It's kind of like the bad guy in Men in Black, right? Does he do something similar?
I think he does. Yeah.
Yeah. So but Ishin said like, I need water, sugar water, something like that.
I mean, you're essentially fighting a fetus when you fight Orphan of Kos. Like, that guy just comes out of the womb and starts hitting you with his umbilical cord.
Yes.
So, like,
that's pretty
I don't
that's
put
true.
anything past it.
Smack in the face
That
with the
sack
finger.
is sitting on like a beached whale and is like, "Are you winning, son?" And this thing is kicking my butt. And he's just like, "Yow." And I'm like, "Yeah."
Wow. That actually brings me to my next question. Is like,
Really?
what is your favorite? Or for the cause, like, what is your like favorite like boss design or enemy design in these games?
I'm stealing Lee's answer from earlier on this one.
Is it
Dancer?
Oh wow.
I'm backing
That's
up
good.
everything he said when he was saying it. I was just nodding.
That design is
inside.
pretty
Yep.
ace.
It's creepy.
Yeah.
It's delicious. The footsteps that echo, the
Yeah.
church is catching on fire.
Mhm.
The dual wielding swords. She's like hunched and creepy by far.
And her costume.
Her veil is
Yeah,
like
her
veil. Veils.
going with it. It's beautiful.
She got the
Mhm.
booty
Lore,
too.
It's
Yeah.
great.
Mhm. There's a lot of things about her that are very, very nice.
Interesting. Yeah. She's very nice looking. Danny, what do you think?
Man,
This is a terrible question for me.
yeah,
Because
there's definitely a lot of great designs. Man, I'm trying to think of like what my favorite would be though. I mean, I think I do really like Maria, just because I really like all the hunter fights in Bloodborne, but I feel like Maria felt like the special one. Like she during the boss fight, she lets go more and more as you fight on, and she was holding back from that vile blood side, but then you brought it out of her, and I like the way that it builds there with that element. So definitely probably like one of my favorite fights and elements there. Also, I think like just thinking back to like Demon Souls, there's a lot of good stuff there with like some of the different boss fights. I really like Fool's Idol and like just elements of that fight, and I like the Old Monk shenanigans.
That's the right word for that.
A lot of people don't necessarily like that situation, but for me, being a big FUC guy, I like going into the randomness of finding someone's build and how to take them down. So
I love the
yeah.
Genichiro fight. Genichiro fight is stellar because like we talk about dance. When you get Genichiro and Lady Butterfly for two similar reasons. Once you get the dance down of Genichiro, it is such a rewarding fight. Like, it just feels so kinetic. Down to the part where you're using his kinetic lightning bolt to shoot right back at him. Amazing. I that fight kicked my butt, but I walked away going, "Oh wow, this is the best From Software engagement by far." Lady Butterfly, because I had a personal vendetta against that old son of a gun. She was, when I first tried Sekiro, she was the boss that, like, her and the guy on the horseback, they were my wall in the beginning. And so when I came back this year and I kicked the guy on the horseback's butt, I was like, all right,
Gyobu
old lady.
Masataka Oniwa, please. It's Gyobu Masataka Oniwa. And so long as he lives, you shall not pass.
There you have it.
Absolutely, that son of a gun. Lady Butterfly, I hated her so much. But then I there was something that clicked where I was just like, hit, dodge, hit, dodge, hit, dodge, hit, dodge. And it was just like, it was in that motion of like, oh, she jumped and now I'm just going to hit her with a kunai, right? And like, just seize the gap and just keep on doing it. When I finally killed her, it was so rewarding. And that fight felt so good, because it really felt like she threw everything at me, I threw everything at her, and I came back the other side. And those fights are like the pinnacle of what makes From Software really great, is when those dopamine hits right after you've conquered that thing. Oh my god, it's amazing. So like, those two are my favorite boss fights.
That's a dance for real. Like, that to me, like, every time I think of like dance, like yes, I think of Genichiro, but she's literally a dance. Like, if you just miss
like
one step, you're goner.
Coming at me for my dancer choice.
No.
You're like, I'm gonna show you who the real dancer is.
The other shout out is the Two Apes, because that's the one I beat in the first try. Because all my friends were just like, yeah, Guardian Ape's hard, but when you're fighting both of them, and that was the thing that scared me literally from a year for picking it up. And I literally walked in that room. I was like, let's rev up those fryers. And I just kicked the crap out of both of them first try. I was just like, I literally texted my friends. I'm like, this was hard to you guys? This is the thing you guys are scaring me over a year for? They're like, the first try? I'm like, absolutely. That felt so empowering as a player.
How about you, Lanning?
I mean, as an animator and designer, one of the greatest joys of getting into From games, either watching or playing myself or pumping myself up for the next one, is I just am so taken aback by the level design, which is just like, it's just galaxy brain. It'll have those one or two things in each game that you'll just go, oh my god. Like when you are in Bloodborne and you unlock the first shortcut, that you have the ladder and then go up the ladder, it's like, oh my god, I started here. I started right here before you go. Just a lot of that really killed it for me for Bloodborne. But I'm getting off topic. So what I'm saying is that for me, it's not just like visuals in general. It's texture and color and architecture and design and animation and physics. Like, it's just one of those things that I've been so impressed that even if you go back into like early Dark Souls games where it can be a bit more janky and like not as a fidelity a thing as others, like so much can be conveyed in so little. I think that's the power of From Software, is that they will give you so little and you will get so much out of it. And so for me, I guess in terms of boss, my favorite From Software boss is Murgo's Wet Nurse. I think it's the funnest boss fight in all of Bloodborne. It is absolutely drop dead gorgeous. There's a lot of really great kineticism in that you're always like moving and staying behind and dodging, and all of that fabric is going everywhere. So that Orphan of Kos is just really, really rewarding. Like, you feel really good when you end that boss fight, and it's also really, really sad story. Like, it's really sad lore about what that is all about. So it's really rewarding in terms of like, oh God, this is what all this was about. But also that fight, you just kind of get into that Orphan of Cost boot camp, like you spend those couple of days just like, okay, I'm not allowed to heal until I can dodge more of this stuff, and then I can't do this until I know how to do this. That was really like how that fight went for me, and it felt very good, it felt very rewarding. But Murder's Wetness, and in Dark Souls 2, it can be a bit of a washy game, and it's definitely, if you want to skip it, you should skip it. But what I am really liking is that there are a lot of really cool bosses in Dark Souls 2. One is Executioner's Chariot, which is a really, really cool designed like boss fight in itself. It's totally unlike any other boss fight in all of the developer's kind of history. And there's a lot of great design stuff. There's the Pursuer, which is like this big suit of armor that you can fight kind of near the beginning, right out of Majula. You go up and then you're in Hades Tower, and basically there are these levers. It looks like the Greek ocean, and you're in like these kind of anyway. What I'm saying is there's a lot in Dark Souls 2, particularly that he's this big suit of armor that like he shows up and it's just massive. He's humongous.
But first you hear him.
First you hear him.
Yeah.
And then he comes and he has this huge, like lance and a giant shield and not even a little hole in his armor. And he shows up, and then what does he do? He lifts 4 inches off the ground. The guy floats. But the armor is so cool because if you look at it carefully, the armor has screaming faces coming out of it. So basically, he's trapped the souls of these people, and they have tried to escape out of his armor. So his entire like chest and everything, it's these like beautiful, like haunted, screaming faces. It's just little things like that, and also, I know I'm talking so much, but even like here, I have my first edition, my first thing of Berserk. It's just seeing how much stuff that it influenced. How much Berserk influenced things, especially in Bloodborne. You can just like the way the mark making and the drawings and everything in Berserk, really, really, really in Bloodborne, if that's something you're interested in. So it's just amazing to kind of have all these cultural holes filled in my brain and getting to be really inspired by them.
Wow.
Holding myself
well
back
said.
right now. Because I'm also a huge Berserk fan, and I had the privilege of getting my favorite mouse pad of Guts.
Oh my God, look at that.
So I've been using this, and I'm also...
There we go.
Hello to you. And he offers
That's amazing.
support.
That's amazing. That made my night.
And we're off the rails with that.
Sorry.
So let's wrap up. It's time to do the impossible. It's time to rank these games. There's 6 of them if we don't count Elden Ring. Danny, I think you could count Elden Ring, but not the rest of us. So yeah, let's rank them from your best to least best. Let's start with you, Sharif.
Why do you want me to be like the guinea pig that comes out? I'm gonna get shredded for saying I don't like somebody. What if I put Demon Souls on like the last?
You can put whatever you
18
want.
people come at me and try to like kill me in my sleep. I'm gonna have to say, for the sake of you guys, Bloodborne first. I'm gonna go with Dark Souls 3 second, then 1. I'm going to put Sekiro after that, Demon Souls, and then lastly, Dark Souls 2. But I don't want to put Dark Souls 2 at a disadvantage because during our intermission, Denny brought it up earlier, but it was something that I was already thinking about, that when Dark Souls 2 was being created, Miyazaki was also creating Bloodborne. They were released within like a year and a half or 2 years within each other. So you could definitely feel Miyazaki's absence in Dark Souls 2. And that's why I'm putting it at last. I think they're all beautiful games, don't get me wrong. Demon Souls, I'm unfortunately going to put second to last because someone complimented Demon Soul bosses here and how much they like them. I'm going to say the opposite and say I don't like Demon Soul bosses. I feel like a lot of the bosses in Demon Soul are very puzzle-like, that the moment you figure out the puzzle of the boss, it's pretty much dead and over with, like hit so-and-so's ankles, they fall over, take advantage of it, do it again, rinse and repeat. I'm not so much a fan of those kinds of bosses. I like to actually struggle. Not saying that it's not a struggle. So those are my least two favorite, and why before anybody does anything. But Bloodborne, Dark Souls 3, top 2. I'll put that there.
Nice. Demon Souls, I guess I could agree with that. That the bosses were very mechanic heavy. Lee, how's your ranks?
Yeah, I'll go Sekiro number 1, probably Dark Souls 3, then Bloodborne, then Dark Souls, Demon Souls, Dark Souls 2.
As long as Bloodborne is top 3, I'm good.
That's right.
Top 3, baby.
It won't
That's
be
a rule.
We were worried about you and your ranking.
Like Bloodborne, like the thing is, like Bloodborne is great, and like the lore is great, the design's great. Like I said, I really loved like the Lovecraftian vibes, especially because it is, again, so different from the kind of more medieval Western style influence in Dark Souls. I'm just like so bad at it. I don't understand why, but I just am. So
all right, Lenny, what's your ranks?
Well, I can't speak particularly because I haven't played most of the games, but Bloodborne will definitely be number 1 for me. I'm not going to say Dark Souls 2 is my next one because I know I'm going to like the other games more than it. So I will rather make a list of which I intend to play them. Play Bloodborne. We'll finish Dark Souls 2. We'll play Dark Souls 3. We'll probably really like Sekiro, and then I'll maybe play Demon Souls. I'll maybe watch a playthrough of it. I don't care about that too much.
Keep us updated on that journey.
well,
I will.
Joseph.
All right, let's start from the bottom. Let's work up.
Here we go.
All right, so listen, I'll be the one that's to say it. Not all these games are great. All right, that's a hard reality. It's a hard truth. And when I mean not all of them are great, I mean there's literally just one bad one. That's one's Dark Souls 2.
There it is.
Dark Souls 2. I don't like it. Sorry. Harsh realities.
Reasoning.
What's the reasoning? I really hate the level design. There's something about
There's a
the
lot
level
to
design.
hate. There's a lot to hate. There's a lot to like, but there's not a lot to love.
Yeah, it's a lot of vegetables, and I want to get to the meat of this thing. Second is Demon Souls, just because of the lack of the checkpoint at the boss, or else things would look crazy different. You got to respect Dark Souls 1, no matter who you are.
Yes.
That's really the thing that truly kicks it off. Then we get to the difficult, choices. Yeah, you have to put Sekiro there. It'd be probably maybe even number 1 if, Great Owl wasn't such a D-bag. I really hate him. I really do. Also, I really don't like the monkey section. I was like, that's like a gimmick that kind of like overstayed its welcome for me. I'm like, okay, I get it. The monkey with the swords is funny. Oh, you're gonna keep doing it. Oh, this is an actual enemy. I like the Tusken Raider people. They were dope. More of them, less of the monkeys. Then number 2, and I get into fights about this all the time, is Dark Souls 3. But if I wanted to be non-biased, it's Bloodborne. Because Dark Souls 3 is in 60 FPS and Bloodborne isn't. And that's really where...
Yeah, unfortunately.
It is. But my heart goes Bloodborne number 1.
All
Bloodborne
day,
best. Love it.
And so I guess you didn't like that Folding Monkeys boss fight.
Oh, no, they're a joke. Those are great. Keep that boss fight in there. You need a cheap win.
It was interesting.
Yeah. But just the monkey with the dual katanas? Come on, man. Come on.
Oh,
How are
man.
you a master at this?
Seriously.
Well, you got Master Splinter in there. That's why because you're surrounded by this icky goo, and you guys are now Mutated, like
I mean, I
the Teenage
understood the
Mutant Ninja
monkeys
Turtles?
before you fought the guardian ape because of like
Mhm.
ooh, monkey level. Like
Yeah.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
But then afterwards, when you fight that mini boss in the little area, and they're just all throughout the forest. I'm like, all right, guys,
Yeah.
I'm kind of getting like jumped now, and they're taking my shoes off. I'm a little scared. So,
Jesus. Damn.
Oh my
I
All
god.
right.
hear
Danny, close us out.
you.
Well, all right.
It's all on you now.
Don't put Elden Ring first.
I'm not going to.
We're gonna get it
I
on.
have not finished the
Elden Ring, number 1.
game, so I can.
Hey, could
I'm
be.
going to add that to the list. But I do have a confession to make. All right,
Oh, snap.
tell you guys, I have not played Sekiro. Not played it.
Oh.
Neither have I. It's okay.
But I have a
There
reason
was
for not
someone
playing it.
among us.
I made a bet with a friend, and I lost that bet. And with that bet, I could not touch Sekiro until Elden Ring released.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It was
It's a
it
weird
was
bet.
it was a very bad bet. But because of that, I have 2 Souls games now to go through at this point. But yeah, so that's like I'm gonna include that one in my ranking for that reason. But rest of
Okay,
the games,
fair enough.
DS2, down the bottom, clunker. You know, there's elements of it that I do enjoy to a certain extent, even lore wise. I do like the kind of like fairy tale element of like it's like the art style sometimes can be decent.
Yeah.
After that, Demon Souls remake would be a bit higher on the list for me if it wasn't for the freaking man eaters. You know
Damn.
how many no def runs that team has killed me with in broken AI. I just keep in mind that the remake kept the same bossy AI from the original game, and they just
Yeah, so they
completely
get
break
stuck in
out
the air.
sometimes.
They get stuck in the air like there's a wall there.
Yeah, like I've had
Crazy.
one glitch out, and I literally couldn't kill it, and then I had to just pour it out, ruin my run.
Mhm.
So down there.
All right.
After that, I'd say original Dark Souls. Definitely, first game. There's a solid nostalgia there. And then Dark Souls 3. And of course,
Wow.
Bloodborne. Bloodborne is like my favorite game, not even just Souls game. So it's definitely
His
in that
favorite.
number 1 spot. Just the lore, the juicy lore, is just ramps it up, ramps it up there to new levels. The Victorian, Gothic style, all the elements there, the combat puts it in that number 1 spot. Whereas Dark Souls 3, I think, is kind of like somewhat of a rehash to a certain extent. It's milking you on the nostalgia from your Dark Souls 1 experience, which can be both good and bad. But Bloodborne has so many original, elements going for it. And Miyazaki took the risks, and he was like, you know what? PlayStation exclusive, I'm going ham. I'm going all out. I'm doing my own
Sure
thing.
did.
And it paid off. So that's my ranking.
That's a very good choice. And on that note, this was it. This was the Let's Talk from Software. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. Look forward to the next one next month. Before we go, why don't we go a lightning round and tell everyone where they can find your work, your Twitter, your Instagram. Tell them where they can find you. Why don't we start with you, Denny, and then we'll go down the line.
Sure. I'm Denny Von Doom, pretty much on everything. Twitter, YouTube, Twitch. I'm currently playing through Sifu right now and getting destroyed in that game. So if you want to see,
How old are you at Sifu already? Like 40?
I mean, it depends on what part you're talking about because I went through one boss and gained a good 30 years. So pushing about 60 right around now. But yeah, you can catch me, doing some stream stuff. I also do like, some live reactions to, I'm a big movie and film buff. Love my Marvel stuff as well. So you can catch me doing stuff like reacting to the new Doctor Strange trailer on YouTube and such. Also, check out Shaq News. I'm community manager and social media lead over there as well. So we cover a lot of gaming news and tech stuff. So yeah.
Nice. And you recently gave Horizon a 9, right?
Yeah.
9 out of 10.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Big stuff over there. Proud of the team coming out. PS5, PlayStation. I see you right now. All right. Put in that work.
All right, Joseph. Where can people find you?
You can find me over at the Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast made by the players for the players, where each and every Thursday, me and my best friend Kyle talk about the latest and greatest in all things PlayStation. You can find that show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, wherever you find your podcast services, or on YouTube at the Trophy Room Show. You can find me over at Mr. Badbit. You can find the show at PS Trophy Room on Twitter. And I had a blast talking all things Soulsborne with all y'all. You're a terrific crew. Seriously, I love the energy. I love the thirstiness from Sharif. I love the education from Lonnie. I love it. I don't know, because I've never seen this. I've never seen the thirstiness from Miyazaki, but now I'm gonna start a fan club.
Sharif, I'm always thirsty in my heart.
There you
Ooh,
go.
okay. There we go.
But no, this is so much fun.
All right, Lanny, where can people find you?
You can find me at LannyBird Tweets on Twitter. I talk about, art, animation. I draw stuff sometimes, and that's pretty much it.
All right, Lee.
You can catch me at LC Shorten on Twitter and Instagram. And if you have Apple TV, in a movie with Mahershala Ali called Swan Song. And I'm in Ghost of Tsushima. So
That's right.
Woohoo.
Sharif.
As I said earlier, I'm the average gamer you will interact with. If anything, I'll be taking advantage of these lovely people that I was on this panel with and all the great things that you guys achieve in life. I am just going to go back to my hole over here and do trophy hunting and go back to working my 9 to 5 that I have to wake up tomorrow morning for. So it was great being on here. You can find me at Little Sharif on almost all social media, but Twitter, if you guys want to follow me on there. I love interacting with fellow From Software fans. If you want to carry me out of bronze elo, I'd be my guest. So thanks everybody.
Yes, and you can find me at Carloso Plays. That's on Twitter and not on Instagram, because I just stalk people on Instagram. So don't follow me there unless you want to be stalked. So let me know. Thank
I
you,
like attention.
Everybody. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night, and we'll see you in the next one.
thanks, everyone.
Goodbye.
Thank you very much.